Welcome to the latest episode of KapVista Klips. Today, with Jacky, one of the co-founders and the CTO of Pegasus. How are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you, Daniel?
Good, good. I'm excited because I can see what's behind you, and I want to know more about what you're up to because you are in the world of private aviation.
Yeah, that's right. The very first thing we usually say it's a real industry, real technology, and a real flying car. Because usually I think even 3 years ago, that the market of the advanced air mobility industry was still like a much of an idea rather than a reality. But here it is, flying cars are coming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm in my late 30s, so I grew up with the Jetsons, and flying cars were a big thing. We thought we were going to have them a lot sooner, but it's taken a little bit of time. But we're there. We're there. They're almost in mass production. So before we get into Pegasus, tell us about you. Tell us about your background, your experience, how you got to this point, and how you and your team came together.
Oh, of course. So I'm one of the director and the CTO of the company, and also our founder. His name is Michael. He is the founder and the director of the company. Regarding myself, my background is slightly unusual because I did quite a few different things. I was the youngest pilot to fly solo on a microlight in Australia when I was at the age of 14, and after that, I joined racing, raced bikes and cars. So although I was never the best racer, but I always loved the engineering behind everything. So that gave me a lot of the ability to work on this Pegasus flying car project. I also built a little helicopter in my garage when I was 19, so that also really helped. I'm now a qualified helicopter license, along with some other startup experiences. At the same time, for our founder, Michael, he used to be a fighter pilot. So that gave him the foundation regarding aviation. But he was also extremely creative in his professional career because he was a great boxing promoter. He's got 2 world champions trained, also in media and in renewable energy.
Awesome, awesome. So then, how did you get into? What was the catalyst? What was the point where you're like, okay, we're going to build flying cars?
So the story really started in 2009 with Michael stuck in a soul-destroying traffic jam. That's the word we use all the time. Essentially, it was one of those cross-ocean bridges. And then he was stuck there, but then he looked up in the sky and saw nothing but clouds. So that was the moment when he realized that the airspace is a resource we have not yet utilized for daily transportation. And obviously, being stuck in a car, the idea came from that if cars had wings, and then obviously you can soar above the traffic instead of being stuck into it. So the idea here is using a 3-dimensional technology to resolve the 2-dimensional traffic congestion on the road. And after many iterations of design phases, because like I said, it started in 2009 and now it's 2024, we had many different design iterations. And in 2017, we conducted our first successful manned flight, which was actually aired on Channel 7 in Australia. And after the progress has been made, what you see behind me are still the world's only vertical takeoff and landing, truly drivable and hybrid flying car.
Yeah, that's exciting. So besides the personal aspect, because like you said, stuck in traffic jam, that's it's annoying, it's frustrating. The air is a resource. What are the other use cases that you see for a flying car?
Yeah. The reason why this particular project is we believe is so important to this industry is because obviously we did a lot of research. But Pegasus is more than just about elevation, but it's about becoming interdimensional. Everything else on the market right now either is eVTOLs, while they have a great limitation about battery energy density, which is simply not good enough for vertical takeoff and landing flight yet, or for aviation in general. And potentially, the battery pack that will be good enough is still about safely 8 years away. So
Yep.
someone has to come up with a technology to fit that particular gap. as the technology is not exactly ready, and also when the regulation is still taking time to build up. So Pegasus, we chose a very different design philosophy to make sure we are practical in today's regulation the moment when it goes onto the market. And also, it's not going to have the typical range anxiety that the electric vehicles suffered, but also those eVTOLs will suffer in the next coming years. So this is why Pegasus is making a difference, or we can become the disruptor of this
Yeah.
industry. In terms of use cases, other than personal uses, as you can see, this particular one here, it's got the police sticker. So we really believe it can become an important tool for the police force. First thing is, in Australia, what's that bridge called? Sorry, Western Gate Bridge. If there's a traffic accident that happened up there, yes, you can send a drone there to monitor the situation. But because of the size of Pegasus, which it fits into a regular car park or garage, you will be able to become the fastest thing that can transport emergency responder to the particular spot. Not only at the same time providing feedback, traffic monitoring, surveillance, and even potentially emergency rescue services. Those will be the great cases. A few of the conversation we had was with island countries like Malaysia, and because it's a hybrid system, it flies up to 3 hours, and it uses. Sorry, I must mention it uses just conventional high octane or 98 unleaded fuel. So wherever you are, you can refuel and be ready for 3 hours of flight time. So border control is another great application.
Yeah. Now, this opens up an additional market. Uh, Everybody knows that Australia is a vast country, but 70% of the population just live on the coastline. The centre of Australia is very, there's still people that live there, but it's very, very vast. It's sparse. So having the ability to deploy emergency services with a range of 3 hours via a flying car changes that landscape. It changes the ability to reach people in emergencies. So, ambulance, fire, police, like you mentioned, it gives a new dimension to emergency services that work in remote situations.
Yeah, that is correct. Also, because again, the sizing is very important. So the first thing is we don't need any additional infrastructure for Pegasus to be in operation. And I must say, the police one is although it is the police is a decal on it. However, this particular aircraft is already registered with CASA, so the registration number is VH8 Alpha 8. So that means me being the test pilot, I can operate this flying car under current airspace regulation. So we found the gap in there that allows operation today instead of in the distant future, I suppose. So by having this ability, people, specialty department, government agencies can begin trials, and even, for example, it will only be used by the police force in the next 3 or 4 years. But we can easily imagine per police force per city having 2 of those flying cars, providing greater coverage of surveillance and becoming much more efficient, and is still a huge market. And I must say that a typical police helicopter nowadays is the Augusta AW169, which not only is like tens of millions of dollars per unit, but it costs $4,000 per hour to operate. But for
Yeah.
Pegasus, the size is much smaller. Put a surveillance camera under it, it would do the job just as good, but it's only $140 per hour to operate. So it makes economic sense too.
Yeah. I think you're tapping into a market that has a huge potential, not just domestically but internationally. And you've sort of picked up on that. That's why your company is dual registered here in Australia and in the US.
In the US is our next coming plan. So we planned this out already. But the agency over there is called the FAA. But there's a bilateral agreement between Australia, CASA, and FAA of the United States that essentially the airworthiness registration that we have in Australia will greatly assist the processing in the US. But we have a great legendary airshow pilot. His name is Bob Carson, who will be assisting us with the whole airworthiness registration process in FAA. So that should be coming very soon.
Yeah. So while this industry is still in its infancy today, in the next 5 years, this is going to be rapidly evolving, and this size of the industry is going to scale greatly. This is something that not just the personal use case, but emergency services, and then even into military. This has a lot of there's a lot of bandwidth, a lot of blue sky potential with something like this. And I think you're on the right path taking it to the US, because the US is a much larger market. And then once you have a foothold there, the rest of the world opens up. The US is similar to Australia, where it is vast. They have large parts of the US where there's rural populations. There is it's sometimes an hour or two between towns,
Yes,
or even further. So having the ability to deploy emergency services to get to critical response that may be over an hour and a half away, you've got an option now.
yeah, for sure. It's all about efficiency. So
Yes.
the trip that was 1 hour on the road would now take about 15 minutes. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone would prefer that option if that is available. And
Yeah.
for Pegasus, it's all about how we can enter the market faster than anyone else. Because of the design philosophy we have taken, our design is much more familiar for government bodies like CASA or FAA. So rather than coming up a design that needs every regulation to change for operation, we really have designed something that fits into the gap in the middle. So we get the market familiar with flying car first. We can demonstrate the ability that we have. And the fact that we are using a hybrid system now, so we understand batteries, we understand electric motors. So once the technology, the chemistry of batteries are good enough, we can make a switch. So not only it is, we can dare say to possibly the most practical package today, but it's also very future-proof in the next 8 years, we believe.
Yeah.
And
And then
I must say, the air taxi is another industry we'll tap into because the 4-seater or the 12-seater is already in the design phase, and we're ready to roll that out using the same technology stack. Again, focus on practical usability, consumer friendliness, and see how we can implement that into the market. Because the truth is, with FAA, they demand every air taxi service to have a pilot until 2032. So that is still quite some time away. And the truth is also that if it is illegal to fly any aircraft unless it's got 20 minutes of fuel reserve. However, most of the eVTOLs nowadays can only fly for about 35 to 40 minutes, although they fly a bit faster. But so there's not only technical sides of the issue they have to resolve, but also the regulation really needs to catch up to see what those eVTOLs can do. But again, Pegasus should fit into the current regulation easier than our competitors.
Yeah, and I was just going to touch on that, and you made mention the vehicles behind you are single seats, but you mentioned that there's a 4 and a 12 seat coming. So it opens up a whole new industry, especially with the. I mean, you can go onto Uber now and find an air taxi on Uber. So there's already a market there. There's already demand there.
Yes.
So you're building a solution that fits into a market that already.
Of course. And with eVTOLs that are coming, you will still need to take a little awkward taxi drive to the vertiports.
Yeah.
Or out of the vertiports. But when the Pegasus Air Taxi comes out, you will land at a vertiport, but it will take you to your final destination straight away. So this is another difference. There's no last mile delivery issues.
Yeah. Okay. Now, thinking about the capital raise, tell us about the capital raise. Tell us how much you're raising. What's the use of funds for?
Yeah, so we're aiming at $15 million USD for this particular round. And I do believe it's called round A. This is the second time we go to the public market to seek capital. It's all about how we can expand into the market rapidly, at the same time have the infrastructure needed to scale when the moment of demand comes. At this moment, we're actually talking with a US dealership for flying cars. Yes, it's a real thing now too, which again concretes the industry. So to say that yes, they want to become a dealer of us, and people can start making reservations and orders. So the capital mostly will be used expanding our team to have the individuals that are qualified to help Pegasus have the factory and the workshop in the United States too, to have the ability to manufacture, let's say, 40, 50, or up to 100 units of the Pegasus E behind me, along with the R&D development, and also for their four-seater and their air taxi that are coming up. Again, I suppose manufacturing businesses are capital intensive at the very start because we need those hardware for operation. IP protection is another thing. Another thing is marketing, because as we registered in Las Vegas of Nevada, this because we see great potential in terms of marketing and how we can present ourselves to the world. One of the things we want to do is do a demonstration drive on the Las Vegas Strip. So I think you can also imagine the publicity and the brand image we will have. Again, because Las Vegas has a lot of airstrips around, we can easily do all those test flights and demonstration flights to the police force the moment when we're there. Again, Pegasus wants to become, using the capital of this round, Pegasus wants to become the name that people think about first the moment other people mention flying cars.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a very important point. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, but it's fascinating to see where you're going with this. And it is something that's started off as a pipe dream, went into the heavy R&D.
Yes.
Now you have a finished product that works, that people can hop in, touch, feel. So it's something that investors who are looking at this can say, well, okay, it's not just a business plan. You have a product. They can sit in it. You can take it from test flight. Like it actually works. So this is something that's really, really exciting.
This is the difference that Pegasus made. We are as close. We can say we're the closest to market because of the gaps that we found and the way we approach things. So we're really looking forward to having investors coming in, assisting Pegasus becoming a well-known brand, but also concrete further about our production and manufacturing ability. So all very excited about that.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much. Anybody who's watching this episode that wants to know more about Pegasus, please reach out to myself and my team, and we can connect you through to Jacky and his team. Thank you very much for jumping on. It's been great to have you.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Bye.